Good morning. Chief Scott, you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance today? All right, minutes and claims, Mr. Auditor.
Okay, we've got minutes for February 27th to be approved.
Any questions or concerns about the minutes?
Motion to approve minutes.
What are you gonna take?
You guys can rock,
I'll
paper,
second.
scissors, or-
I'll second.
All right. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Claims.
Then I've got claims for February 24th through March 1st for $457,212.80.
Any questions or comments?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor by aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That claim docket carries.
Then
Next.
we've got the payroll for March 1st for $1,335,811.48.
Any questions or comments on that?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor by aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Thank you, Jimmy. Anything else?
No.
Okay. We got one appointment this morning to the Honey Creek Fire Protection District for Miss Lori A. Fox. So this is to certify that you, Lori A. Fox, has been reappointed to the Honey Creek Fire Protection District for Vigo County effective the 5th day of March 2024, expiring on December 31st, 2027. In testimony, whereas the Vigo County Board of Commissioners have hereunto set their hands and seal this 5th day of March 2024. We'll need a motion to accept that.
Motion to accept Lori Fox reappointment to the Honey Creek Fire Protection District.
Second.
All in favor by aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, Mr. Loudermilk, I think you have an addendum to the county's handbook. Do you want to come speak on that this morning?
Mr. President, members of the board, himself and Assistant Director Cindy Hunter are here. In reviewing some of the policy that we have at the detention center, kind of the way we were doing things is in conflict with the handbook. In addition, the handbook, which talks about lunch hours and breaks with respect to 24-hour operations like the jail or the juvenile center. There were just some mistakes. The Baker-Tilly study has renamed one of our positions, and then we established a new position that was paid out of, or is paid out of our non-reverting fund. And so the first paragraph, do you guys have copies of this? You do?
Mhm.
Okay. So the first paragraph was just rewritten to what we do. Essentially what the old one says, and I don't have it in front of me, but what it just simply said was that those people that work 24-hour shift were not allowed to leave. And so, you know, we don't do that. We're not going to make our employees stay there the whole time. Yeah. So what this says is that a regular workday of the director, assistant director shall be from 8 to 4 with the 1-hour unpaid lunch. The office manager, which we don't have anymore, it's called a compliance manager. So that needed to be changed. She will work 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. That isn't happening. She's working 8 to 4 every day. Except Saturday and Sunday, obviously. The detention officers and shift supervisors shall rotate. That's true. And it says in departments that are open 24 hours a day where employees of those departments are required not to leave work or their work area. And so we allow our people to go to lunch based on staffing Many of them will go pick up lunch and then come back, night shift especially. And so we don't have any issue with any employee on their lunch break leaving their workstation as long as it's approved by their supervisor and as long as it's, doesn't cause a staffing issue. So we wanted to change that so that it would allow for those people, as you see, staffing will determine if an employee shall be allowed to leave their workstation during these breaks. This will be determined by the shift supervisor based on minimum staffing requirements. So, obviously, sergeants that's working that shift is not going to let the people leave our facility unsafe, but we still need, because here's the problem. If an employee leaves for lunch and doesn't come back for 2 hours, I can't discipline them based upon the handbook, because the handbook is not what we're doing. We're allowing people to leave for lunch, and the handbook says they've got to stay there. And I don't think it's fair that they should have to stay. So maybe the jail does something different, and that's fine, but we're in a different location. We have the ability to allow our employees to take a lunch break. So we would just like for you to consider these changes from the original handbook so that we can let our employees leave for lunch.
Okay. Any questions for Norm?
Yeah, I've got a couple. How many people work at our juvenile center?
How many people?
Yes.
So there are 4 administrators and 16 officers. At any one time, there are 4 people working a shift. We have 2 day shifts when one's working, one's off. We have 2 night shifts when one's working, one's off.
All right, thanks, Norm.
Any other questions?
No, I trust that you're making the right decision here. It sounds great. It sounds fine to me. I would make a motion to approve this change, if that's what we need,
As proposed?
as proposed.
Mike, any questions?
Well, I'd like to do it next week.
You'd like to do it next week? Okay.
I'd just like to think it over just a little bit. See if it has any repercussions on any other things.
Is that okay, Norm?
Say again?
Mark has made a motion to approve. Mike has asked that we table it until next week to talk it over a little bit more. Is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to, we're not going to all of a sudden issue an order saying you can't leave for lunch.
Yeah.
We're going to keep doing things the way we've been doing them since before I got there. All I'm doing is trying to clean up what the previous director was allowing to happen and what we've been allowing to happen since 2020,
Okay.
which is that employees be allowed to leave for lunch.
Okay.
I'd just like to kind of think about it, review it, to make sure in comparison to other parts of our county. I know
Well, I mean, well, you want to make sure that we're comparable to other,
no, not really.
Departments
Norm. I
and-
just want to see if we change this. Sometimes we get, well, if you change this, then we would like that type of thing.
right?
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
would like to remind you that in the handbook, it specifically mentions jail, merit deputies, correctional
Right.
officers, and then the juvenile center. And all we're addressing is only the paragraph or 2 paragraphs that deal with the juvenile center.
That's the way it looks like to me.
Yep. Yeah, so we can table, that's no problem. It's just some housekeeping that we need to do, so that's fine.
So
You'll have to withdraw your motion, that's
I
about
will
it.
withdraw my motion.
Is there a motion to table this until next Tuesday?
I'd make a motion to table this till next Tuesday.
How about a second? I'll second that.
All right, thank you.
All in favor, by aye?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll continue that conversation next Tuesday. Hold on, Norm, you're back up again. We got a juvenile Sally Port proposal letter from the Juvenile Justice Center.
You guys have a copy of this? Anybody need a copy? So, Mr. President, members of the commission, again, Norm Loudermilk, Executive Director of the Vigo County Juvenile Justice Center. So in our efforts to try to keep the kids safe and protect their confidentiality, we have come to a position in our building where we are simply out of space. There's just no way else, no other way to put it. And so, because of that reason, we don't have a kitchen. And because we don't have a kitchen, we have to use our garage area, or what's called our sally port, to hold coolers and freezers for the food we pick up at the jail to bring back to feed the kids. Whether it's milk from Prairie Farms, or whether it's ice cream that they bring for a snack, or whether it's extra food that we maintain for kids that are brought in the middle of the night that need to be fed. So because of that reason, those coolers over the years have gotten bigger and bigger, and our sally port has gotten smaller and smaller. So with the increased size of police vehicles that drop kids off when they've been arrested, and the increased size of the coolers and freezers, there is simply no room for a squad car to pull into the sally port, close the sally port door, and exit the vehicle to maintain the confidentiality of the detainee and/or to maintain their safety. And so there is an area to the west of the current sally port that we could add on an additional area that would be a new sally port. It would allow our current sally port to turn into a kitchen, if you will, and it would allow for a 2-bay sally port to be there. Outside in the area now is our vehicle we use to transport the meals. Since it's been there, it's been shot with a gun, and we've had to repair that. It's always outside, so we lose staff because they have to go out and start the vehicle and leave early to go to the jail to pick up the food. So this would allow us to keep that vehicle inside one of the bays of the sally port, and then to have another little bit larger area for the vehicle to pull in to drop off kids and to pick them up for transport. Additionally, and it should be noted that we hold kids, as you're all aware, from 42 different counties in Indiana, and because of that reason, we have constant transports from other counties, either bringing kids in or picking them up for placement or for transport to court. And so there's no area for those people to come in. So we reached out to the committee that is involved with the ARPA funds and discussed whether we could use some of that revenue to help pay for this addition, this new sally port. And they told us we could use that money. So it is on the agenda for the April 2nd meeting of the county council. And so we will be going to the county council asking for some of that money, somewhere in the ballpark of $400,000 to be able to be used for this security enhancement. It is a need we have for not only storage, but just space so that we can bring a squad car inside instead of having them outside. Right now, we have squad cars parking in the parking lot or along the side of our building and then walking the kids in. And that really violates this state law on confidentiality of when a juvenile is arrested. And so for us, if we have to transport a kid to the hospital or something like that, we have those same vehicles as the police do, Dodge Durango. So if we pull that in our sally port to transport, we can't get the kid in the vehicle. So we have to wait and walk him out. So we need to add on to that building. There's a room there to do it. Commissioner Klinkenbeard came over, walked the area to see where we were talking about. As you can see from the plan, the yellow highlighted area is the new proposed 2 walls, one built to the west and one built across the west of the building. The outdoor rec area already juts out into that parking lot, so it was just squared up with that area. And so reached out to DLZ to see if they would draw some some floor plans, if you will, some renderings, and then would give us a contract for architectural work so that we could get some bid specifications from them and then work with you guys on getting it bid out so that we can get the money in April, get it bid out by first part of May, and then maybe be able to begin construction. It's only 2 walls and a metal roof, so I don't think the construction is going to take all that long. So I would say by midsummer, we should be able to have a functioning Sallyport with additional storage so we can do what we need to do. So I'm asking for the commissioners to approve this contract so that we can move forward with the project.
Any questions from the commissioners?
No, I've been over there. It's a great location for that. It makes sense. It's important to know we're not adding space as far as bed space. But
no.
I think it's much needed. I've seen where you're trying to bring in meals and a Sallyport. It's just not big enough. So all we're doing today is committing this contract.
Hey, Norm, I got a question. What's the timing on this? How quick does this, because there's a couple things, I just looked at the contract, a couple things I want to talk to you about maybe getting changed.
Timing to complete it?
Well, on getting this started, because can we wait till next meeting? I want to talk to you after the meeting
Yeah,
about a couple
so-
changes that I think need to be made in the contract.
You know, my timing is yesterday.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a doer, not a waiter, and so as quickly as this reached my email was as fast as I contacted the commissioners to ask to be put on the agenda. So if there are some contractual issues that we need to work out, little things, that's fine. You know, it's Indiana, we only have so much time to build.
Yeah.
And so with the bidding it out, it's gonna take, 3 or 4 weeks and advertising and opening, and so all of those legal requirements for bids, it's gonna take a minute, and I don't wanna be starting the project middle of August because of red tape.
But a week shouldn't make a difference, right?
No,
So see me after the meeting, and I'll show you the couple little things that I would request they change in the contract.
right,
Okay?
yep, and I didn't prepare this, Eric Ratz
Yeah.
did, so that's, yeah, I'm
Right.
sure he probably wouldn't be opposed to it.
So we'll need a motion to table this till next Tuesday as well.
Motion to table this till next Tuesday's meeting as well.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Thanks.
thank you, Norm.
Thank
Yep,
you, Norm.
Thank you very much.
Make sure you talk to Terry. All right, we have our friends from the Hamilton Center here today for an update. So if you guys want to come to the podium.
Morning.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for having us today. We are here to do an update. I'm Emily Owens, Chief of our Clinical Outreach at Hamilton Center, on behalf of our President and CEO, Melvin L. Burks. As the commissioners know, we send our annual report to you. You should have received it early January, but I do have copies for you today. This is an opportunity for us just to update you all on our service array from fiscal year '23. You'll see in the packet, we did serve 6,043 residents of Vigo County in fiscal year '23. You'll also see our referral sources from the community, primarily the legal system. That's our main referral source for Hamilton Center clients, as well as the Department of Child Services, other behavioral health providers, the school corporation, and the hospitals here in the county. Moving along in your packet, you'll see that our funding sources for the primary payers of our clients, typically, we do see the majority of Medicaid clients. We saw over 4,000 clients that had Medicaid, as well as the private insurance, Medicare, et cetera. We typically serve the age group of 25 to 64 years of age, and we also saw an increase from the birth to 12 years of age with the ages of consumers that we serve. We have a robust school-based services that we provide the services within the Vigo County School Corporation, as well as partnering with daycares, Head Start, et cetera, to serve that population as well. Our community outreach efforts are listed there as well. You'll see a list. I'm not going to go through all of those, but marketing activities and community outreach, this is where we're giving education, giving information, being a part of those health fairs, the community resources, We definitely are out there presenting. We have spoken to the police department several times over the past year, the school corporation, the sheriff's office, probation, et cetera. We also attend the commissioners' meeting consistently to apprise you of any information that we need to. Moving along, we have several new programs within Vigo County. We are partnering with the Housing Authority, so we have increased our on-service delivery for Dreiser Square and Garfield Towers. This is where we have service providers actually on site for those locations to assist those residents that actually live there if they need mental health and/or addiction services. Moving along in your packet, you'll see a little bit more information on our addiction services as well. We provide the continuum of care with outpatient assessment, individual therapy, groups, case management, peer recovery services. We provided 1,490 clients. We served 1,490 clients under our addiction services that were adults and 15 that were children. We are still seeing the trend of the stimulant use disorder being our top diagnosis in our addictions area. So the methamphetamine is still our highest diagnosis with that, as well as second is alcohol, then cannabis, then tobacco, and then opiates. So just looking at the trends there, we have different programming that addresses each of those diagnoses. And as you know, we are in 11 counties now, with Vigo County being our main corporate county. We do offer a variety of services even outside of Vigo County with the youth and the adults. We have different evidence-based programs that we provide, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, and again, those supplementary services, case management, peer recovery, nursing services, medication management, things of that nature. I do want to bring to your attention, we provide 359 employment opportunities. So we have 359 positions here in Vigo County that are employed here in the county. I also want to bring to your attention the tax funding that we do get in the amount of $714,906. That is allocated to the Hamilton Center as being a community mental health center. And if you look at the numbers that we serve and looking at the money that we get, you can equate about $118 per consumer that we have served within Vigo County. That kind of gives you an idea of how that is being covered with each of those that we serve within the county. I also do want to bring to your attention that Vigo County Hamilton Center did provide approximately $2.2 million in charity care, and this is when we are providing a service, but that client might not have a payer, or that service is not covered underneath their payer, like Medicaid either won't cover it or their insurance won't cover it, or we are out and about looking for anybody that might be in need of an assessment or that might be in crisis, and that wouldn't be covered. So it was about $2.2 million just for Vigo County that we provide those non-reimbursable services for. To end, I want to thank you for the support, for the continued interest in what we do at Hamilton Center with mental health and addiction services, and I'll open it up for any questions that you might have at this time.
Any questions, commissioners? Or two?
Grace Clinic.
Yeah, Grace Clinic is our primary care facility now that we have. It's been operating approximately, I believe it's been about 4 to 5 years. We are a FQHC lookalike, which is a federally qualified health center. So that is located there in our main corporate office at 628th Avenue. We also have an office in Putnam County, and it deals specifically with primary care needs. We have several nurse practitioners, nurses. So it's an outpatient clinic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to introduce the rest of your team that you have
Yeah,
here
I
with you?
can. Yeah, we have Molly Funk. She's the Executive Director of our Addiction Services. And Mr. Matt Hayes, he is the Director of our Child and Adolescent Services here in Vigo County, and he also oversees some of our South satellite offices. So, thank you.
Any other questions, guys? All right, we appreciate the update.
Appreciate the time. Thank you.
All right, I know that normally right now would be comments from the public. I think Mr. Sackbun and maybe some firefighters are here to talk about something. If you guys want to come up and talk about whatever you want to bring to the table.
Good morning, County Commissioners. I might add, Mark, Mike, you guys look great in blue. Chris, please get with the program next time and
I
make
got
sure to
blue on my
match.
shirt.
Hey, folks, look, I wanted to stop by today really to cover two things. One, to from the city's perspective, say thank you and our partnership with the Capital Improvements Plan. And for those who aren't aware, the city and county are taking a bold step forward where we conduct a capital improvements plan, look at all of some of our city and county-owned facilities, our roads, our infrastructure, and really talk not in terms of 4 years and election years, but in terms of 10 to 15 years, and look at generational change for things like archaic buildings, roads, and utilities. Why is that so important, right, this simple plan? But from the city's end, just to offer some perspective why this capital improvements plan is so helpful and what it will do when we start looking at casino dollars, edit dollars in the city budget the next couple of years is just fire department specific. We have 8 firehouses that were all built decades and decades ago that don't have any generators to withstand a natural disaster, of which we've seen multiple in the last 5 years. We have 3 ambulances in service and 7 total, 6 active engines with 3 in reserve, 2 aerials and 2 reserves. That is for a department that is setting records for total amount of runs year after year after year. Just looking at their capital improvements alone highlights the need to be a little bit more proactive with how we make decisions with which firehouses we update, which engines and aerials we look at. From a parks department standpoint, our total acreage continues to increase, and we have the fewest number of parks employees in over 25 years. From a street department perspective, when we look at the total quantity of roads that we service, that relates to how many total chippers, dump trucks, front loaders, and pavers do we need per calendar year, and exactly why. This capital improvements plan is going to help both the city and county have hard conversations, have hard budget conversations like the one that I'm sure you're all having today. The jail, the old jail. It might sound, to some, wow, the commissioners are putting $4.6 million just to tear down an old jail. But it is truthfully a lot more than that. The work that you're doing to restore that to a green space really highlights why we need this capital improvements plan. Because for generations in Terre Haute and Vigo County, we have failed to take 10, 20, and 30-year internal looks at our systems and our equipment and our buildings, and instead took 2 to 4 year, time frames on it. So thank you for even having that conversation. Because at $125,000 a year for just utilities alone on a building that's not being used, at least we are starting to have these conversations about the long-term plan for capital improvements in the city and county. So thank you guys so much. I'm looking forward to the partnership. If you have any questions, you guys know to reach out, and same for your employees. Thank you to Larry as well. I know he's been working really close with Marcus, the Terre Haute City engineer.
No, we appreciate you guys jumping on board. I think it was important, and I'm glad Larry reached out to Marcus because it was going to be pointless to do this 5-year plan without the city being involved. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't say pointless, but the partnership is important. So, any questions for the mayor? Comments?
No, thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
Thank you. Firefighters, anything? No? Okay. Okay. Open for comments from the public. Anybody? Seeing none. Comments from the commissioners or other elected officials? Who wants to go first?
I've got one.
Okay, go ahead.
I got an email that said that, from the Attorney General, that said we were getting another opioid settlement. And rather than just spend money, commissioners worked pretty hard on that to increase those dollar amounts at that time. So, we bring some money back as well.
Mark, you want to go next? You want me to go?
Go ahead.
All right, so I want to, so after we had our county update, which about 220 people attended last week at the convention center, we've had a lot of feedback about the $4.5 million ask to demo the old jail. Most importantly is, why is it $4.5 million to demo a jail? There's a lot of things that we have considered over the last 2 years to do with that property, which ultimately led to commissioning with Larry Robbins this capital improvement plan to really strategically plan overall ditches, roads, buildings, several things in the county and city, and collaboratively do that together, so we do have a 10 to 15 to 20 year plan, so we can go capture that grant funding or whatever we need because we have a plan in place. The most significant thing to do after the commissioners or after the sheriff's office moved inmates out of that building was finding a place for dispatch to go. We looked at a couple properties. One we got appraisals on, and then Hamilton Center bought the property, which is completely fine, that we had initially had plans to move into. So then Commissioner Morris and Klinkenbeard had a bold idea to move them into the community corrections building on the second floor. So, and they were able to get that accomplished in 6 months or so, and before the end of the year, before the end of 2024, or the end of 2023, they were in community corrections. So those 2 years between inmates moving out, finding a place for dispatch, and then trying to figure out something to do with that jail, we worked with Carmel Construction and DLZ to commission a study on what the best use of that former jail would be. We quickly learned that because of so many lawsuits and inadequate repairs to that building, that it could no longer be a jail unless we substantially put a ton of money into it. It could no longer be a community corrections building. It couldn't be a juvenile center or anything like that because it take a lot of money to do it. So shifting that focus into, well, it could be a glorified storage facility if we want it to be, by removing the cells and all those things, and then keeping in mind that half that building was built in 1980, the other half in 2000. And you're talking about a 40-year-old section building and a 24-year-old section building. We finally came to the conclusion after walking the council members through, 6 of 7 council members through, that we wanted to just pursue demolition. It's significant to have a plan with that property because it is probably one of the highest priority properties in the county. It could be several things in the future. We haven't identified that yet. We think after demolition would be the opportune time to figure out what the next capital project will be for Vigo County. Also knowing the future of regionalism and the next capital project for the region, whether that's an athletic complex, community corrections, juvenile center, whatever it may be. I think it'd be nice to refresh that property, make it a green space, and then have those conversations as a community on the best way to move forward with that property. In no way are we wanting to position the council in a way that it's either this or that. We're just bringing them a suggestion of what we think is best for the property for right now, and knowing that the cost is pretty overbearing for remodeling that property into something that's still 40 years old in some capacity and 24 years old in another capacity. One of the things that's been mentioned is the tower that's on site. That tower is staying there for now. We did have a conversation with Jeff Fox about a study to move it. I know for fire purposes, there needs to be a tower probably on the east side, in addition to this tower, wherever it's relocated to. Relocation of that tower is vital for West Terre Haute, New Goshen, all those things, because they have issues up in that area too with radio service. So we have some more things to talk about there. Currently, all the operations of that tower are in the basement of the Vigo County Jail. So that has to move. So in doing so, Jeff Fox worked with Sycamore Engineering and Arcade to get some cost estimates on a portable building to put next to the tower for right now, until we do make that decision to move that tower, or whether it stays for the future, whatever it might be. But it's important to know that if we do purchase that building now, it goes with the tower wherever it goes, and so does a small generator with it. Currently in the jail, we have a chiller that's completely bad, broken, so we have really no AC upstairs. All 3 elevators have been decommissioned. There's no need to put any money into them. They all have hydraulic leaks and things of that nature. Lawsuits have made us aware of, we have no ADA compliance in that building. All those things have to be improved. The insurance premium for the building is $45,000 a year, and like Mayor Sackman said, our utilities last year for about 10 people to sit in there was about $125,000. It's also significant to note that we've had this conversation several times. Why can't we just reduce the power in the building, and why can't we shut the water off? Our insurance won't allow us to do that. We have to have security. We have to have water in the instance of a fire, and if we don't have fire suppression, insurance isn't going to cover anything. And then also in that policy, if the building where loss or damage occurs has been vacant for more than 60 consecutive days before the loss or damage occurs, with respect to covered causes of loss, they're only going to cover 15% of the building's value. So we have to keep that in mind as well. And then the overall budget, it is $4.5 million, and that's a pretty big number. The funding source that we want to use is a funding source that was passed in 2018 by the council at the time. So there were 4 funding mechanisms passed to build a new jail, to maintain that jail, to staff the jail, and also to potentially demolish the old jail. 111.4 lit special purpose does just that. That money can only be used to bond potential jail projects or anything to do with the criminal justice system. It also includes costs related to the demolition of existing buildings and acquisition of land. So this funding source, for you public safety guys or anybody that thinks that this money might be taking away from public safety, it does none of that. All the public agencies, safety agencies are still protected, still receive the same amount of funding, and there's no threat to any funding that they receive. This fund directly can be used for acquirement or acquisition, improvement, renovate, equip a county jail related buildings, parking facilities, and costs related to the demolition of existing buildings. The budget is broke down between several things. You know, you got your general requirements in the budget, which is pre-construction services, builder's risk, and we know that if this funding is approved next Tuesday, we have 6 months to order a portable building, and in that 6 months' time, we will work with Art Spaces, RQAW will work with them to design the road to their specifications for their next phase in terms of the river project. We also know that we're going to have winter conditions, traffic control, signage for Cherry Street, street cleaning and closing, and plenty of other general conditions, plus tree and plant protection for the memorial trees that are on the site. So that's $437,000 for that alone. The site demolition itself is a demo of the building, which is probably the most costly of this whole budget. So the building has to be demoed, and then it has to be hauled to the plant, or what am I thinking? Waynesville, yeah, sorry, down there. And then, so there's site preparation for that, the debris disposal, radio tower protection. There is a little bit of hazardous material in there. There's a old fuel storage tank down there, grease interceptor, a huge water line that runs underneath the building. There'll be bonds, and that includes demo, all the existing concrete, asphalt paving, the fences, the sheds, the fuel and oil tanks, light poles, chiller, generator, pads, sidewalks, and all curb and gutter. And of course, that demo will have to go to bid, so all of our local contractors will have the opportunity to bid on that. The electrical part of that budget is removing the transformer that's on site and getting it over to the courthouse property. It's the tower building, the portable building, a new generator for that portable building, backup UPS, the labor for the building, the labor to move the equipment out of the old jail into that building, and we have a $100,000 contingency in there just in case there are a couple cost overruns that hopefully will not be. The earthwork is $592,000. That's site clearing. That's bringing in backfill. We have to have a special backfill in place and compacted in the instance we do want to build something there in the future. There will have to be a basement ramp because the basement's so deep that an excavator will have to get in there. We'll have to temporarily shore up that transformer, and then because that property is so close to the river, we did take into consideration of some dewatering in case that hole does fill up once the demo starts. The exterior improvements, which is a new road and sidewalks, that's $971,000. The road extension itself is about $430,000, $440,000. We're adding additional handicap parking that's closer to the building and some 15-minute parking for some people that just need to drop some things off. It also will allow us to have a safe place for not only our security staff that's bringing inmates to the courthouse to go to court, but also for the inmates as well. And right now, if you drive by the courthouse, you see those folks are just driving on a 10-foot wide sidewalk, and they're all parking up there, and it's not conducive for the appropriate way to do things. We're talking about new decorative fence around the tower to kind of course, we can't hide that tower, but clean it up a little bit, and then your seating and landscaping. The utilities on the property, we'll have to, of course, do all the locates. We'll have to tie into the sanitary sewer with the city and their existing parking lot. Like I said, there's a water line. That's a big deal. Indiana American Water made us aware of. We'll have to shut off the gas. We'll have to get the storm water into the city system and all the disconnects of all the power and utilities that are there now. All the contingencies that we have $192,000 in design contingency, $81,000 in owner contingency, $124,000 in construction contingency. So that's including the contingency for the building, the portable building. That's almost a little more than $500,000 in construction contingency. The generator has become a hot topic the past couple days. Since June of last year, when we had the windstorm, something at the former security center was struck by lightning that blew the automatic transfer switch apart that also backfed into the generator. Right now, we don't have a working generator on site for the former security center or the Vigo County Courthouse. Everpar was gracious enough to give us a backup generator, and Ricky Hammond is over there right now with Sycamore Engineering and Johnson Controls, again looking at the old generator. We did file an insurance claim, and that investigation is still ongoing. I don't know what's taken so long. Probably the next step might be getting Terry involved here. But obviously that generator is an expensive cost, potentially $800,000 to $1 million to get a new generator put there. But what the commissioners would like is that generator be put on the courthouse property and not over there on that property, because whatever happens in the future might have to be moved anyway. So that's kind of a budget breakdown of everything. We're happy to work with Garmong. Garmong's involved with almost everything we do. We met a handful of times, probably 5 times with Garmong on going over this budget with a fine-tooth comb. It is $4.5 million, but we know that hopefully $500,000 is just contingency, so it's a $4 million project, but we wanted to have that in place just in case there were cost overruns. But we just agree as a group of commissioners that the best way forward is to demolish that building and just turn it into a green space for right now. Also acknowledging the mayor's riverfront master plan and how that property plays a vital role into the development of that and what happens on the river and this property as well. I mean, who knows what could happen here in the future. So, Mark, Mike, you guys want to add anything?
I think you did a great job there running all that down. Yeah, I've talked to a lot of people since we announced this last week, and a lot of people are supportive, but they do wonder why $4.5 million, which I do too. So I think that's why we came up with the breakdown that we sent to the media yesterday, and I think we'll probably put out there on Facebook or something later today, just so everybody knows where this money's going. We're trying to be as transparent as possible here and show you everything. Yeah, one of the most important parts of this whole project will be that road that will turn around for our sheriff's deputies, transport prisoners, and things like that. So the council's had some really good questions, and we're trying to answer all those, and we'll continue that next week. Anybody else that would ever like to talk about this and get an idea of the breakdown, feel free to give any of us a call, and we'll go over it.
Then another thing, our firefighters are here. It's significant to know, too, a couple years ago, we spent Christmas night at the courthouse. Remember that, Mike? Because we had a busted water line. And little did we know, Fire Watch was a thing. So without any fire suppression services in the courthouse, somebody had to be there 24/7 watching and monitoring until we got that improved. One thing we noticed when the fire department showed up was there's no place for the fire equipment to park next to the courthouse unless you want to sit on 41 and block traffic, or Ohio Street and block traffic. But in between those areas, there's really no place to park. So for emergency services as well as our jail staff to be able to use that road is significant as well.
Yeah, I remember a few years ago when we passed a tax increase, and we had passed this 0.25% of that income tax and it was specifically for the jail. And I remember that cost was uncertain, or not firmed up on the new facility at that time, but there was much discussion in reference to using that money for demolition of the old jail at that time. At that time, I think we talked to Brian at Gormong. He was with Gormong, and he estimated demolition roughly at $700,000 or $800,000. That's been obviously several years ago, and so that might be where some of this confusion's coming from in reference to what the total cost was going to be. But that, again, that was consideration for use of that money for that purpose.
We threw out a lot of information. Would it be okay to open it up for any questions you might have here?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Anybody else have any other questions for public comment about this?
And then, our partnership with the council is crucial. Even with the Markle Mill Dam conversation that we had, we wanted it to be unanimous. That wasn't just a decision made by the commissioners. We all had our thoughts. The council had to vote to approve the funding and move forward, and they did 7-0. The commissioners supported it as well. So we want to make sure that they know that, we want to continue the partnership with them, and whatever happens moving forward as far as a capital investment there will include the council and the community and the Terre Haute City Council and the mayor. So, anything, Terry? All right. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to email us, call us. We'll look forward to continuing this conversation over the next week when the council decides to ultimately vote for it. So, we'll stay in a recess till next Tuesday.
When does ISU play? Do we know?
Thursday.